Welcome back to session 2 of Beyond Abuse, the workshop. Once again, congratulations on your bravery in taking what can be a very challenging but rewarding journey towards empowerment and thriving. This session will focus mainly on chapter 1, taking the journey. Keep in mind, we'll bounce around a little bit, because abuse weaves a tangled web of deceit and lies. And we have to get those cobwebs out of our brain. Some of what we will talk about might not seem related, but it is. So stick with the journey. Seeing synchronicity will spark aha moments that help you heal. So let's get started with a quote from Ernest Hemingway, who won the Nobel Prize for Literature in 1954. Like everyone, he had his own demons of abuse to contend with. He is considered among the most famous functional alcoholics. Chapter 5 in the book is titled Dysfunction, and is the focus of session 6, but I wanted to throw out the idea of becoming aware of dysfunction and changing that to function. Ironically, this Hemingway quote may be a soundbite, which means it's not the full quote. And even though I caution you against sound bites because it leaves room for misinterpretation, for purposes of this class, it fits well. So here it is. The world breaks everyone, and afterward, many are strong in the broken places. It's easy to see how the quote relates to healing from abuse. So now this might seem like a quick transition, so stick with me. Here in the slide is something I talk about in the preface of the book, which I see as a metaphoric result of taking a conscious journey. It's called kintsugi, which is a Japanese art meaning to repair with gold. Broken pottery and other items are mended with gold and beautifully recreated. The common opinion is the pieces become better than the original. It's also been referred to as the art of precious scars. So think about this. We use gold light in our energetic healing sessions. We may perceive ourselves as having been broken, but once we perceive ourselves as repaired with precious gold, we can see our true beauty. We discover our worth. When you discover your true worth, you become empowered. When we do our energetic releasing, not only can we fill in newly opened spaces with positive aspects, but we can seal them in with the gold healing light. I find it to be a great metaphor, and I hope you will too. Of course, you can use any color you want. White, green, silver, pink, blue, whatever intuitively comes up for you. A facilitator may guide a healing process, but it's always yours to take. The book and these classes are about not just changing, but dramatically improving your life. They are about how practicing heart-centered conscious awareness can change lives from being dysfunctional to functional. Trust is something that was badly broken in survivors, maybe even shattered. When we learn to find and trust our inner voice, we become more functional. Practicing conscious awareness will push you in the direction of repairing trust in yourself. Conscious awareness is what changed me from dysfunctional to functional. Did I really just say that? Well, for the most part. Trust me, I have my moments. When you have been abused, you feel like you have to be perfect, do everything perfect. You become hypervigilant and you overcompensate. We can learn to accept that as humans, we are all flawed. We're perfectly imperfect. However, I have never seen anyone not benefit from becoming conscious. Connectedness to the universe will become more obvious. For example, the art of Kintsugi and the Hemingway quote showed up in my awareness within hours of one another. The synchronicity was a clue to pay attention. We may feel broken, but changing the way we see ourselves helps you feel repaired and confident. Synchronicity and coincidences offer us confirmation that we're on the right path, which is a huge part of the journey. This session and the process at the end is going to focus on replacing shame with peace to help you feel repaired and treasured. An extremely low number of children and teens speak up about it being abused. Even in adulthood, we hold back. If you are a survivor feeling alone and suffering in silence from the long-term effects of abuse, your light's been dimmed. It's been suppressed. Why? Because we faced shame, blame, guilt, denial, rejection, and indifference. Last session, we introduced those 6 feelings and their related aspects. They cause us to internalize anger. We want to release the anger, find our voice, and find ourselves. We want to learn to express from a place of passion and truth, not anger. Even when anger comes out, we want it to be appropriate. We want to release, not unleash. It opens space for peace and passion to prevail. Healing doesn't mean the damage never existed. It means the damage no longer controls our life. As I mentioned in this session, the focus is on shame. I can tell you, though shame profoundly affected me in many ways, I don't feel it at all. Initially, I didn't even realize what I was feeling with shame. I denied shame by hiding what happened to me. In childhood and into adulthood, I held it back. The thing is, what is hidden is what can be the most dangerous. Shame's not where I started my healing journey. Abuse isn't where I started my healing journey. I identified them in the process of healing. As more truth comes to light about your abuse, you can broaden your perspectives. Yeah, you were personally abused. It was not okay to be victimized. But to heal, we must transform out of victimization. To heal, we don't want to take it so personally. But we also don't want to dismiss what happened. You can become what I call a compassionate badass. I don't share to stay a victim. I share what survivors can relate to. I didn't think I was living in fear, but I was. Even now, there's times when I can hear my mother's voice saying, "This is ridiculous. You're upsetting everyone." I didn't want to be seen as a troublemaker. I had to see that I wasn't. Being made to believe something that isn't true about yourself is what I was referring to when I mentioned webs of deceit being woven into your brain, locked in your memory. If you want to identify as more than just a survivor, the false beliefs need to be vanquished. The more awareness is, the easier it will overcome. I didn't intentionally set out on a journey to heal my abuse. I wanted more from the life I was living. I wanted to seek out and discover life's secrets to success. There's something I'm sure you want too. I was so far in suppression that I didn't recognize the dark secrets my internal rumblings were harboring. I was drawn to things like ancient mystic culture, the unexplained, drawn to exploring my own personal experiences with things of that nature. I had terrifying dreams of being pursued by the devil. I mean, literally nightmares. Abuse can create that. It's disturbing to have recurring nightmares. I surely wanted to overcome that. But now, you know what? I see it as divine intervention, pushing me to seek answers and towards a journey of awakening. For all survivors, victimization gets embedded in our psyche and our cellular memory. The memory might not be in our present moment awareness, but the effects get expressed. In my early 30s, the suppressed memories were headed to a boiling point ready to erupt, which is why I have a volcano on the cover of my book. Continuing to suppress the memories became too much to bear. It was through an energetic process, not specific to abuse, that I finally acknowledged my memories. The suppression had reared its ugly head. Thank you, Sigmund Freud. And my soul was begging me to wake up. I summoned the courage to talk to someone about what happened to me in my early adolescence and throughout my teens. Someone I actually trusted. It might sound ridiculous, but I didn't even recognize my sexual assault as abuse. The person I trusted enough to tell, and who this book is dedicated to, actually had to say to me, Martha, that was abuse. It created the awareness that my denial and numbness was to escape the pain. I had lived with the terrifying fear that I was going to be blamed, that somehow it was my fault. I had a lot of waking up to do. And you know what? Plus, abuse wasn't even talked about much back then. It was hushed even more. What I do know now is that the experience of sexual abuse set me up for a lot of unnecessary drama. And while not completely dysfunctional, I took a few wrong turns as a direct result of it. As we consciously awaken, we'll take fewer wrong turns. I pretended to be cool on the outside, but I was majorly pissed off on the inside. It took a while for the revelation of hearing the words, Martha, that's abuse, to sink in. It took a while for me to step out of the numbness and accept what really happened. I had been taught acceptance in the wrong way. Burying is not acceptance. It's denial and escapism. I used a lot of biting sarcasm back then, which can be an expression of pain. It was also a learned behavior from the people around me, whose humor wasn't always nice. And I was around a lot of angry people. Admittedly, I was deeply guarded. I had to learn how to step out of denial, stop escaping, and embrace the anger, something all survivors would benefit from doing. It's been said that everyone we meet along the journey is a teacher. Some are just more influential than others in both good and bad ways. Before practicing conscious awareness, I was deeply caught up in the shameful idea that it was my fault. Who wants to get blamed for anything? Especially when you don't understand what you did that was so wrong. Unconsciously, I was hiding the authentic me. I had no concept of what being authentic meant. Now shame and blame no longer control me, and I'm comfortable in my own skin. And being comfortable in our own skin is something we all need to feel, and many survivors don't. Why do I know this? Because I've heard so many survivors say they aren't. There's way too much self-loathing. And there is no self-love in self-loathing. Identifying negative feelings and getting it out of our cellular memory. There I go again, cellular memory, right? But it will do a lot more for our ability to learn self-love than looking in a mirror and saying, I love you. Once you release the trauma from your brain, you can use the self-love mirror as a tool to anchor self-love into your being if you want to, but it's not a place to start. Once you're conscious, you might not need that mirror at all, because you'll know who you are. Shame doesn't necessarily come from the perpetrator of your abuse. Shame comes from how you are made to feel by other people. Your parents, other family members, teachers, clergy, and society in general. Oh yeah, and then compound it with this one. No one can make you feel anything. You allow it. Have you heard that one? Yeah, let's just add another layer of blame. Maddening, crazy. Once you understand what happened, then yes, you can take responsibility for how you feel and change it. But we were programmed by adults who aren't always mature. We need to be aware of this. Even then, because of the depth of conditioned beliefs, we can fall into traps. By making ourselves completely responsible for our own feelings causes us to put up defensive armor. In turn, it affects our relationships. It interferes with deep connection that we all crave and long for. We're left feeling alone and somewhat abandoned. We didn't just allow abuse to happen. We were scared. We were terrified. There are a million other thoughts attached to abuse. We must learn to put responsibility where it belongs. Now, we have a lot to cover in our sessions, but if you want another perspective, you could read the article from Psych Central titled, On the Destructive Belief That No One Can Make Us Feel Anything. You can pause the video to write down the link or just search the article by the title. I'll say it again. On the destructive belief that no one can make us feel anything. Psych Central. We all have a different story, but we have similar long-term effects. As I said before, feeling shame and blame for allowing the abuse and being accused of asking for it makes us put up our defensive and harms what should be intimate relationships. And I'm not talking about intimate in the terms of sexual intimacy. I'm talking about close relationships. Remember, it isn't just the event of abuse that causes dysfunction. I understand that for some of you, abuse came from a parent. And for that, I am sorry for your pain. My father was not my sexual abuser, but I want to offer an example of how abuse and dysfunction can create a downward spiral into negative emotions. Obviously, I was fearful of telling anyone what happened to me in my youth. I was afraid my dad might kill the SOB, and then it would be my fault he went to jail. I was afraid of hurting my nephews. I was afraid of being to blame for destroying my sister's marriage. I didn't know what to do, nor did I have any guidance. Eventually, I asked my dad to let me go to counseling. And he said, get this one. There's not a goddamn thing wrong with you that a good crack in the ass won't fix. Wow! You think I was going to speak up then? Do you think that's a big part of what caused me to suppress? He was clueless, and I can't really blame him for that now. His view was anything emotional or psychological was embarrassing. To my mom, it was ridiculous. She often used those words, shame on you. And she'd say it for really dumb stuff. Neither ever questioned why I asked to go. My dad responded from ego, the way that he was raised. But his actions did affect our relationship. Trust was broken. I couldn't confide in him. I never had trust with my mother to begin with. I encourage you to explore where shame and blame started for you. Explore where your trust was broken. The energy processes are a safe place to do that. We all have to remember that our parents only responded how they were conditioned and taught. They didn't break their own programming. They didn't break their own dysfunction the way that we intend to do here and now. Understanding this is something that we can appreciate. We can appreciate ourselves for breaking our programming, and it can allow us to forgive them for their human flaws. We can end the dysfunctional cycles. Okay, whew. I'm taking that one off. We're gonna move on. While this quote from Angelina Jolie is from the 2014 Global Summit to End Sexual Violence and Conflict, it can pertain to any form of sexual violence and abuse. Here's the quote. We must send a message around the world that there is no disgrace in being a survivor of sexual violence, that the shame is on the aggressor. It's a powerful point. And it leads me to talk about why I suggest starting with internal peace and not love. In any conflict, we want to find peace. It helps to understand a little bit more about vibration and the vibrational scale of consciousness. You will easily find different versions of the scale with a little research. Everything living has a vibrational rate that can be measured in hertz. The abbreviation is Hz. Maybe you have already listened to music tuned to a specific hertz frequency. For example, 432 is healing, 528 is love and DNA healing. They are also referred to as solfeggio frequencies. You may have seen gongs, crystal or Tibetan singing bowls, tuning forks. The information is easy to find and you might want to explore more. It is scientifically known that trauma changes chemicals in the brain. So it's believed that listening to music tuned to certain frequencies can help us heal. I listen. Since all energy has vibration, since we have vibration, and music has vibration, we can see there's a valid point to how listening to healing frequencies can help us break up stuck energy. And don't forget to add in some rock and roll to shake things up. It can make you feel good, but you can also use it to see through the expression of pain. Artists are really good at doing that. Shame's at the bottom, the very bottom. It's a very low vibration. From there, it moves up from shame, guilt, apathy, and on up. This is completely proven scientifically. There is debate, but regardless, there are aspects that make practical sense. What makes it simple to see is knowing that we don't feel as good when we're in the lower vibrations. It's fairly easy to see when you know someone who slumps around. They're always depressed. They don't smile much. Kind of like an Eeyore from Winnie the Pooh, who's an adorable creature, but not one we want to aspire to. And then there's the opposite side where we see those really bubbly people who smile all the time. They bounce around like Tigger, hoo hoo hoo, right? Which is great. But does that always mean the person who seems happy doesn't have something they are covering up or suppressing? You've heard the expression, things aren't always what they seem. In fact, those types of people can sometimes be in denial. Doesn't mean that they are, but they could be. That's not our focus right now. I just wanted to point out about the danger of denial. There are people who are genuinely happy, content, and fulfilled in their lives. And that's what we want to strive for. It's always healthier to have an upbeat demeanor. But much can be going on the inside that isn't shown on the outside. And why it's important to look at ourselves inside and not look for an outside fix. It's also why I say, instead of using a Band-Aid, use the aid of a band. Because music has vibration that can break up stuck energy. There are contradictions in the examples of the vibrational scales from what I'm sharing, but it doesn't make the scales wrong. There are many variable aspects to emotions. Shown on the scale is apathy, which seems to me it should be above numb and denial. From my perspective, apathy is when you just don't care. And you're aware that you just don't care. We don't want to have apathy towards ourselves. It also shows peace above love. Well, obviously you can love someone without having peace in a relationship. Again, sometimes that's codependency and not true love. It doesn't take self-love or unconditional love into consideration. The point is, there are different types of love, and sometimes love hurts and isn't healthy. Abuse creates a distorted perception of love that survivors need to figure out. When you accept and make peace with yourself, you learn to honestly, authentically, unconditionally love yourself without so much internal conflict. There are many scenarios we could look at and debate, but regardless of the conflicting beliefs and ideas, it's fairly easy to see that emotions are either up, down, or neutral. The idea here is to learn to feel and feel authentically. We're human, we're meant to feel. And we need to learn to get out of our ego and overthinking, where emotion keeps us shackled. As I said before, it's much easier for someone who is angry to heal than someone who is numb or in denial. And I'm not talking about neutrality. Neutrality comes after anger. Angry doesn't feel good, and no one wants to feel angry all the time. We got a lot of angry people in this world. Unfortunately, some won't seek help until their anger gets them in trouble. We know that anger isn't healthy. The danger lies in that anger can be turned inward. And to heal, we need to find ways that raise our vibration. The second example of the vibrational scale is a bit more descriptive, but it doesn't even show shame. It's not a perfect science. It's a tool to help you create self-awareness. It'll be in the resources tab. You can take a closer look at it whenever you have time. In the meantime, I want to go a bit deeper on why I suggest survivors focus on peace and not love. Many so-called gurus in the spiritual world are preaching, teaching to focus on love. They say, just send love. Really? They want you to just send love to people who hurt you? That doesn't work when you feel unlovable. It inflicts more guilt and shame, and that's not fair. I say forgive yourself. Show some self-love by not giving those who hurt you attention. Giving them attention gives them your power. So yes, love yourself, but there are feelings that can be confused with love. And I know what I say may sound a little repetitive, but it's important to bring this awareness into your heart, and sometimes you have to hear it more than once. So there are feelings that can be confused with love, and the examples would be infatuation, attraction, admiration, maybe even lust. Or there could be that element of codependence. Let's face it, we are ingrained with the idea of romantic love. We are addicted to love. And trust me, you don't want to hear me sing the Robert Palmer song. This girl cannot sing. Sure, we want love and we want romance, but too often TV and Hollywood portray sex as equivalent to love. We have to detach from that. We have to seek peace. It creates an awareness that leads to understanding what healthy love looks like. After the anger, we can find a place of neutrality that leads to peace, eventually leading to love. Take the steps. Denial. anger, neutrality, peace, love. So when we are told we get what we give, we want to know how to do that so we get the healthy love we all crave. In session 1, we talked about how abuse creates a warped perception of love, especially when you were led to believe that the person who abused you loved you. Maybe they did in their own way, but it was warped, unhealthy. People have done some really weird things in the name of love, but stop before it breaks your heart. Get the song? In the beginning, love can be too high of a vibration to focus on, especially when your self-love and self-worth has been undermined. Does that mean we aren't capable of loving or experience love throughout the journey? Of course not. The point is, to heal deeply on a core molecular level, we have to start healing lower on the vibrational scale. Telling us to just send love or love ourselves is like asking us to play golf like Tiger Woods or play tennis like Serena after one lesson. It's an unrealistic expectation. An unrealistic expectation is the problem in telling a survivor to just send love. Love is way too important. Let's say that again. Love is way too important. And it's not fair to generalize the idea of love. Abuse survivors are very sensitive, very empathic, and why it was easy for abusers to latch onto us. They're energy vampires, narcissists. Come on, charming. Then they tell us everything is our fault. Survivors are always trying to fix things. And that's how we get caught up in compounded abuse and feeling guilty. We're doing our best to get love, and then we're getting beat up and don't know why. Remember your journal. Journal about what love means to you, what healthy love means to you. We all crave love, and we don't want it to be just lip service. Remember this. You can have love without peace, but once you find peace, love flows naturally and authentically on a soul level. The vibrational scale is something we can learn to navigate up and down. Use it like an instrument. Play on it and feel the harmonic rhythm. Dance on it like it's a big FAO Schwartz keyboard. Give yourself permission for your feelings. Understand them and embrace them. Modern psychology states that the long-term effects of childhood abuse can leave a survivor with recurring trauma and PTSD as difficult to recover from as it is for war veterans. We want to end that internal war and conflict. To resolve it, we need to know the root cause. While many survivors have a support network, many unfortunately do not. And even those that have support likely find they have many people around them who remain in a shadow of ignorance. Ignorance meaning it lacks true knowledge. They don't understand the long-term effects of abuse. Ignorant meaning they express in insensitive ways. It is true that in the age of information, ignorance is a choice. When you've been subjected to ignorance, you are left feeling misunderstood and dismissed by the attitude of indifference. Again, this propels that feeling of shame. When unhealthy reactions are triggered, we're re-victimized. Unless this comprehension is clearly brought into our awareness, we misunderstand our own reactions. We want to learn to respond appropriately or choose not to respond at all. Ignorant people aren't worth your time. When we respond appropriately, that's when we win. Because it's hard to dispute the truth. Though there are some that will still try to dispute the truth, like a narcissist. I like to refer to being triggered like a tailspin, because that's what it feels like. And sometimes it takes longer to recover from a tailspin than from the original incident, because you are left feeling like no one cares, or rumination takes over. When we implement more self-care, that's when we reach the level of healthy love and self-love. We are in control of our responses and not in control of others' egoic reactions. We can only control our own controllables. Conventional therapy helps on an emotional level, while spirituality and meditation help on a feel-good heart level. The self-care helps us reconnect to the divinity that we were born with. Reconnect to our original grace and innocence. And we touched on that in session 1. Medical treatments help on a physical level. Energetic healing processes and self-discovery take all of the above and empower us to intuitively direct our own healing journey. All of it combined makes us more comfortable in our own skin. Denial causes us to stay in abusive relationships longer than we should because of fear. The possibility of something better hasn't reached a conscious level of awareness. Oftentimes, a survivor doesn't see just how badly the abuse affected them until they take the journey and get out of the abusive situations. Don't feel guilty if you've done that. Guilt no longer serves us or our soul. And guilt does not allow our light to shine. Self-discovery makes getting to the core revelations more palatable. Now, a grammar critic might say, that word should be palpable. But I'm intentionally saying palatable, because through consciousness, we can better digest the emotional crap that we were force-fed while we were being abused. In the picture on the slide that you're being shown, you can think of the worm like a cord of emotional attachment. Something is crawling in your skin. So how do we raise our vibration? Essentially, we started that in session 1. We need to learn how to get to the core of the issue. It may take some time to find that origination point, because we may need to peel back some layers first. Let your soul direct you. A lot of this can be the result of generational transference of memory. That doesn't mean you have to go back to the beginning of time or do a lot of past life regression. You could, but you don't have to. We will start at our origination point in this lifetime. However, that could mean the womb. It is believed that a baby is affected by the mother's mental state. And I personally believe that. In my opinion, you don't have to believe what I believe, but there's research on this. Beyond that, a person really struggles when they discover that they were unwanted. An example of this research is in the Prague study, Prague, the Prague study. Sometimes discoveries are painful, but there's also that aspect of seeing that it wasn't all about you personally. It was about someone else's fear, someone else's incapabilities. Let that be a relief to you. Some mothers made the choice, some weren't given a choice. And this is why some do extensive inner child work to heal. And that's all good. But in our processes, by going to the root cause of the issues, the inner child will be healed. As I said before, do some self-parenting. Treat yourself the way that you would treat your own child. Treat yourself like a loved child. Treat yourself the way you want to have been treated. Just remember to bring your mature wisdom and don't get stuck at that inner child level. Generational transference is a form of karma. We can choose to break that cycle. We all rise up when we break karmic cycles. Stop playing in karma, because karma is unnecessary drama. It's a wheel that keeps going around and around, and you don't want to be a rat on a wheel, so break the cycle of karma. If you want more perspective on the mind-body-spirit connection, look up a documentary called Emotion 2.0. Emotion, E-Motion 2.0. Last time I watched it, it was on YouTube, Vimeo, and Prime, all for free. I encourage you to get different perspectives from different sources. Hearing similar information from different sources can create that aha moment you need to create spontaneous healing for yourself. Aha moments excite our senses. You're like, oh my God, I get it now. It's exciting. Guess what? That's what raising your vibration is all about. Unlocking our subconscious is what the energy sessions are for. Get relaxed. Be the observer. Feel yourself inside your body, not outside your body when you're in denial. The processes take us deeper and help us heal faster than intellect alone. In fact, the energy work can wake up our intellect, and then we gain confidence and comfort. With so many layers to uncover, some repetition helps. We need to get to know ourselves on a more intimate level. There was times when I was doing energetic processing when I was like, God, I already went through this. Why am I doing this again? It was just another layer, another aspect that needed to be seen and uncovered and released. It's not uncommon. Let go of any punishment from hearing. Don't make me tell you more than once. Never hear an adult voice, an angry adult voice say that? I bet you have. Telling ourselves that we are stupid, that we're not capable, we're not worthy, is self-abuse. We are all worthy, and we don't want to be our own worst enemy. Now, we didn't talk about mastery yet, but this is something I want you to remember, and I want you to hold on to this. Mastery doesn't mean there isn't more to learn. It means the ego no longer fears knowing more. Overcome the fears created by abuse, and you will be the master of your life. The master of your universe. Do you remember that cartoon? I have the power. No one else can live your life for you. So find out what's crawling in your skin. Since we talk so much about crawling in the skin, how about listen to the song Crawling by Linkin Park, Crawling by Linkin Park, and read the lyrics, which may be disturbing, but the music has some great vibration. We are going to talk about Chester Bennington in session 12. He was the lead singer of Linkin Park. His history of abuse and suicide is a sad, sad story, but one we can learn from. We're about to call a wrap on this lecture. God, I don't like that word, lecture. It sounds horrible. Ugh, lecture. While you are mastering your life, it is important to have some fun. When you see things that don't make sense, just stop and shake your head and say, wow. Let go of frustration, pain, anger, and find things to enjoy. Understanding the difference between an inconvenience and putting time into something that can change your life for the better. Find reasons to laugh and laugh through some of the chaos. Okay, it's time to process. Take a break, prepare, grab what you need. Start the next video whenever you're ready. Let me know how you're doing. Please share your insights, and I'll see you again shortly.